I started playing guitar when I was 5. My mother bought me a small classical guitar when I was 5, about 3/4 size, and I just played on it a little bit. And the reason she bought it for me is because I was, from a very early age, I was very much into listening to music with any, all day long. So her soul records, Temptations, Four Tops, Stevie Wonder, a lot of stuff like that, and Beatles records were, in her collection. And then I had some records from my dad, his modern jazz collection, and occasionally I would listen to. So, but it would just be this constant succession of one record after another all day long. So she bought me a guitar, and then I just kind of goofed around on it, really, until my mother, well, I'm from Buffalo originally, and the Buffalo Guitar Quartet came to my school, and they gave an outreach performance. And so my mother was working actually as a secretary for the library at the time at my school, and so that's how I started lessons with Jeremy Sparks, the founding member of the quartet.
And is that when you started getting into classical guitar?
Yeah, and I didn't even know it as classical guitar, really. It wouldn't have, we had lessons, and I started, alternating right away, and it's just the usual process, I think, that a student goes through. And so I didn't even really think of it as that I was studying classical guitar, just that eventually, after I learned a few pieces, it occurred to me that I was studying the classical guitar.
Let's talk about your Matheny album a little bit. How did you go about selecting tunes to arrange for that?
Well, basically that was something that Pat Metheny's music and a lot of jazz standards. When I was in college, I began to really get into American jazz and improvising, and was learning to do that just on the side on my own with the help of friends. And when it comes to I think that coupled with my theory training at the Cleveland Institute of Music, I was beginning to just pull a lot of things off of records by ear and just make solo guitar arrangements out of them just for my own enjoyment. And so when it came with Pat Metheny's music, there's such a high melodic content to it that I had ended up doing about 25 of these tunes. So years later, I thought it might make a good CD, an album, if you will, to basically just do a record entirely of Pat's music on the solo guitar. And so I selected the ones that really had this, the strongest melody. If you think of Always and Forever, for example, that one, that melodic range of that melody is almost 2 octaves. So there's a lot of, the melodies have a lot of content, if you will. There's a lot of the thing, so as long as you figure out the chords underneath in a bass line that is sort of evoking the original, then it was just a matter of fleshing out the material to make it more like a solo concert pieces, almost something that you could play in a concert.
Yeah. So did you work with Pat at all while you were doing this, or did you arrange completely by ear, just listening to his records?
Yeah, it was all by ear, and in fact, which created a bit of a difficulty for me because I had to then write them down.
Yeah.
I had to write them on paper so that my producer, the producer of Azika Records, who produces my records, Alan Bice, could have a score to work off of for editing purposes. So that was an ordeal. He basically kind of locked me in I think we did a lot of it at. A lot of that I did at my parents' cottage. They have a cottage in the summer in Canada, and Alan Bice went with me, which is kind of funny, and like we were hanging out, but mostly like he was hanging out with my parents, and then I was like locked in a room, being forced to write these down on paper because they were all committed to memory, and they all of them originated just from playing stuff off of records by ear.
So when are your arrangements going to be published for that?
As I get a lot of requests, of course, every day by email, we are moving closer and closer. In fact, I know it may sound to some like I'm just stalling, but it really has been the last 3 concert seasons since that CD came out. Actually, the last 3 or 4 have been very heavy, 50 plus dates, along with running a guitar department here in Cleveland. And I'm actually just 2 tunes away, and I got some more proofreads to do, which I received the other day. So we're moving forward. We're hoping, we're thinking that we're getting pretty close, and that it's just probably within a year we can have these out. So.